When Jeff Bezos retired in 2021, he had a net worth of around $200 billion. This means if Bezos spends $1 million a day, it would take him 547 years to blow through his entire fortune. Lucky for Bezos, he's gotten himself a new girlfriend who's been helping him make mind-boggling expenses like this thing that they bought for $500 million. But before we reveal what Bezos is splashing his billions on, you should know that he isn't the only retired billionaire wondering how to spend his money. In this video, we'll cover 12 retired billionaires and reveal the wacky, reckless, and creative things these mega-rich people do during their retirement. Be prepared for surprises, because while some of these billionaires are riding high, others are living extremely miserable lives. Take Lillian Bettencourt, for instance. Of all the billionaires we'll cover, Lillian Bettencourt's life after retirement is by far the most tragic. Lillian wasn't your average billionaire. She was the richest woman in the world. However, all Lillian's money couldn't prevent her retirement from being so disastrous. To understand what happened to Lillian, you need to know exactly how she amassed $44 billion in the first place. Lillian Bettencourt was the only child of the founder of L'Oreal, the world's largest cosmetics company. When her father died in 1957, Lillian inherited his share of the company and, in the process, became filthy rich. She got married, had a child, and lived a pretty disciplined life. However, that all changed when she retired, and Lillian began doing things that made no sense. For instance, Lillian gave a photographer cash and gifts totaling $1 billion simply because she liked his personality. She even offered the same guy an entire mansion as a gift, but he turned it down. As if that wasn't bad enough, Lillian also gave her lawyer $200 million. What was the reason? She said she wanted to invest the $200 million into an online gambling company the lawyer had told her about. Over 10 years, Lillian gave away exquisite paintings, large sums of money, and expensive jewelry to dozens of people. The spending spree only stopped when Lillian's daughter involved the French courts in the matter. After running some medical tests on Lillian, the courts realized that she was suffering from dementia and Alzheimer's. This means all those years Lillian was showering people with money and gifts, she wasn't thinking straight.
In the press, that report says that Bettencourt, now age 88, is suffering from dementia and the Alzheimer's disease.
10 people, including Lillian's nurse, friends, and lawyer, were accused of taking advantage of her fragile mental state to steal her money. After the intense courtroom battle, 8 of them were found guilty and sentenced to time behind bars. The courts also declared Lillian unfit to manage her wealth and placed her under the supervision of her daughter and grandson.
A court in France has ruled that the country's richest woman, Lillian Bettencourt, be placed under the guardianship of her grandson and that her vast fortune be managed by her daughter.
This court order made Lillian Bettencourt a billionaire who needed permission to spend her own money. How tragic. But while Lillian was surrounded by vultures and parasites during her retirement, Steve Ballmer's retirement is so much fun that he's been called the happiest retired guy on Earth. In 1980, Steve Ballmer dropped out of college to join Microsoft as the 30th employee. 20 years later, he was appointed CEO of Microsoft. But Steve wouldn't have been excited about the promotion if he knew how much frustration and stress it was going to bring him.
And by his own admission, Ballmer was big, bald, and loud.
Microsoft was such a huge company that making one bad decision or launching a product that flopped cost the firm billions of dollars. And Steve made a lot of mistakes, leading to him being constantly criticized by customers, the press, and shareholders.
Pep rallies alone couldn't cover up the colossal missteps that were to come. First, there was Windows Vista, a long overdue, over-budget update to Microsoft's cash cow. Then there was the move to mobile devices, an opportunity that Ballmer and company missed until it was almost too late.
Fair to say that the smartphone category, the cell phone category, has been your company's Achilles heel over the last many years. True?
Over the last year or two, I'd agree with that.
The stakes were high, the spotlight was bright, and there was no room for mistakes. Ballmer led Microsoft for 14 years and retired in 2014 with billions of dollars in the bank. After enduring the pressure of running the world's biggest company, Steve Ballmer was determined to make every day of his retirement as enjoyable as possible. The same year he retired, Ballmer purchased the Los Angeles Clippers for a whopping $2 billion. He attends almost every game, cheering the team on and having fun.
Do we have any Clipper fans here? I can't hear you!
But the best part of Ballmer's retirement is golf. Ballmer loves golf so much, he's a member of 7 exclusive golf clubs. 2 in Seattle, 2 in Hawaii, 1 in Los Angeles, 1 in Nebraska, and 1 in Detroit. Ballmer even travels for golf vacations with his closest friends. They fly around the world in his private jet, playing on the best golf courses from Scotland to New Zealand. Steve also donates a lot of money to charity through his foundation. But while Steve Ballmer is the happiest retired guy on earth, this next billionaire complained that after spending billions of dollars, he still wasn't happy or fulfilled. Paul Allen, co-founder of Microsoft, was only 30 years old when he received the worst news of his life. He had cancer. To focus on treating his cancer, Paul retired from Microsoft. Of course, it was easy for Paul to retire early because he was already worth millions of dollars thanks to Microsoft's success. A few years later, Microsoft went public, catapulting Paul from millionaire to billionaire status. Paul Allen was young, rich, and retired, and he had just beaten cancer. Now he was ready to enjoy his retirement to the fullest. Paul splashed $200 million on a super yacht called the Octopus. The Octopus had 8 levels, crew of 60, including former US Navy SEALs, 2 helicopters, 7 boats, a remote-controlled vehicle that crawls across the ocean floor, a recording studio, and a 10-man submarine. But Allen still had more money to blow. He paid $70 million to buy the Portland Trail Blazers basketball team, and then another $200 million for the Seattle Seahawks football team. But he didn't stop there. Paul Allen snagged a collection of sports cars and private jets, including 2 Boeing 757s and a Challenger 601. He also purchased a collection of old warplanes and iconic paintings. But apart from buying things, Paul also tried to use his money to buy friends. Paul Allen wasn't very good at making friends because he was awkward and shy. To fix this problem, he threw extravagant parties and invited celebrities to come hang out with him. This is a scene from one of Allen's parties on his yacht. Cut to... Paul Allen even got on stage to sing and play the guitar. Paul Allen threw lots of parties. In 1998, Allen celebrated his 45th birthday by taking his friends on a week-long luxury cruise to Alaska that cost him about $5 million. 2 years later, he blew another $8 million on another party when he flew 200 guests to Helsinki and St. Petersburg for the festivities. But after all this spending, Allen still felt like crap. Paul reportedly complained to his friends about how frustrated he was. Allen said, "I've spent money on jets, boats. I don't know what to do next." We don't know whether Paul Allen ever found the peace he was searching for. Sadly, his cancer returned in 2018, and he died a few months later.
Allen died yesterday from non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. He was just 65 years old.
But while Paul Allen may have never found true happiness, his former best friend, Bill Gates, seems to have found meaning by trying to solve the world's biggest problems. Many people never expected Bill Gates to retire because he was a certified workaholic.
I used to stay at work till 11 or 12 and then go home and read for a while.
That's 11 or 12 p.m. As he showed me the main Microsoft campus, Bill confessed that he's a workaholic who puts in hours even on weekends.
Bill's commitment to work paid off because by the time he was retiring, he was worth $58 billion. So how did one of the richest men in the world spend his billions during retirement? Surprisingly, he was less interested in spending the money and more interested in giving it all away. Bill and his wife created the Giving Pledge, in which he promised to give away the majority of his wealth and encourage other billionaires to do the same.
According to one recent estimate, the world has more than 2,000 billionaires. Many of them are being asked to give half of their fortunes to charity. The Giving Pledge was created by Bill Gates, his wife Melinda, and Warren Buffett.
So far, Gates has donated over $50 billion through his foundation. Bill Gates doesn't throw parties or take expensive vacations. He spends all his time working to fight hunger, develop vaccines, and improve education. Although Gates has vowed to give away 99% of his wealth, this next billionaire has been criticized for spending too much on himself and not giving enough to charity. Jeff Bezos and his new girlfriend Lauren Sanchez have been writing big checks. A perfect example is the $500 million mega yacht Bezos recently purchased.
Boat owned by founder Jeff Bezos just dropped anchor in South Florida. The $500 million vessel named Koru is docked right now at Port Everglades. The 417-footer is the world's largest sailing.
And to top it all off, the yacht has a mermaid sculpture that resembles his girlfriend, Lauren Sanchez. But that's not the only mind-boggling thing Bezos has splashed money on during his retirement. Bezos spent $68 million on a waterfront mansion on Miami's Indian Creek Village. And only 2 months later, he dropped another $79 million to buy the mansion next door. But Bezos has also spent some money on humanitarian causes. In 2020, he launched a $10 billion fund to fight climate change. He called it the Earth Fund, and has already disbursed grants exceeding $100 million. Nowadays, Bezos spends most of his time vacationing in exclusive resorts, attending private parties, and working on passion projects like his space company, Blue Origin. But while Bezos spends most of his time relaxing, our next billionaire did the opposite. Michael Bloomberg's activities during retirement were more stressful than anything he'd done in his 40 years of work.
The voters have spoken, and now it's up to us to deliver. Can we do it?
Michael Bloomberg is a household name in America. But how did he get rich?
Bloomberg's father was a bookkeeper and his mother a secretary. After completing a degree in engineering, he went on to Harvard Business School, then taking a position with an investment bank. Bloomberg quickly climbed the ladder. Within 15 years, he made general partner, but was fired in 1981. The day after his dismissal, Bloomberg used $4 million to launch a financial information company called Innovative Market Systems, later to become Bloomberg LP.
Over the course of 20 years, he built that company from a startup to a multi-billion-dollar enterprise. But when the time came for Bloomberg to retire, he simply jumped from the stressful world of business into the stressful world of politics. Bloomberg was elected mayor of New York City in 2002 and held on to that position for 12 years. But it wasn't a smooth ride. Bloomberg was constantly embroiled in drama and accusations. It definitely wasn't a soothing way for a billionaire to spend their retirement. But it seems Bloomberg loved the drama, because in 2020, he took it a step further by trying to become US president. But things didn't go as planned.
Now, the 76-year-old only joined the race just 101 days ago and spent a staggering $600 million of his own money.
Now, with a net worth of almost $100 billion, Bloomberg is finally getting some much-needed rest. However, rest is a word our next billionaire doesn't want to hear because he absolutely hates the idea of retirement. Warren Buffett is one of the most successful investors in history. After making his first investment when he was only 11 years old, Warren honed his investing skills until he had amassed over $100 billion. However, when the time came for Warren to retire, he surprised everyone by explaining how much he hated the concept of retirement.
It's not unthinkable that perhaps you might want to retire, or for good God's sake.
It's unthinkable.
Unthinkable.
I don't want that one to go by.
And even though people thought Warren would eventually change his mind, he has proved naysayers wrong. He's continued working every single day. Now, 93 years old, he shows no signs of stopping. But at least Warren Buffett can keep doing his job. Michael Jordan, on the other hand, was forced to retire because his body couldn't keep up. So how does the greatest basketball player of all time spend his retirement? The answer might surprise you. During his heyday, Michael Jordan was the most famous athlete in the world, and 20 years after retiring from basketball, his popularity has only grown. Unlike other athletes who get lost in the dark world of parties, drugs, and hookers, Michael Jordan took a much different approach. After retiring, Jordan spent a lot of his time playing golf, doing business, and helping groups that fight racism. Michael Jordan loves golf almost as much as he loves basketball.
It would have been a little bit different, but I kind of got into golf mainly because from a competitive standpoint, to me, it is the hardest game to play.
Absolutely.
I can always respond to an opponent, a defensive guy, offensive guy, whatever, but in golf, it's like playing in a mirror, and you're battling yourself consistently to try to get perfection every swing, every putt.
And there's a reason why he loves golf so much.
For a competitive person like me, this is what keeps me sane, because when I walk away from the game of basketball, that was enough to keep my competitive juices working.
Absolutely.
But Jordan didn't abandon basketball completely. He became the majority owner of the Charlotte Hornets and sold his stake in 2023 for an insane sum of $3 billion. But Jordan's retirement hasn't been all sunshine and roses. In 2006, he made a decision that cost him $168 million. After nearly 20 years of marriage, Jordan and his wife got a divorce. During the split, Jordan was ordered to pay his ex-wife $168 million. Till this day, that is one of the largest divorce settlements in history. But a superstar billionaire like MJ wasn't single for long.
Wedding bells ringing today for NBA legend Michael Jordan. Jordan and Yvette Prieto tied the knot earlier this evening on Palm.
After decades of stardom, Jordan is living a very private life. He spends most of his time with his wife, raising his twin daughters. But Jordan isn't the only billionaire who spends most of his time with family. This next billionaire loves his privacy so much he hates it when people recognize him. In 2017, Amancio Ortega, the founder of the Zara fashion brand, retired. Born into poverty, Ortega rose to become one of the richest men in Europe with billions of dollars in the bank. But after amassing all this money, he didn't have anything to spend it on. Ortega and his wife live in a modest apartment overlooking the ocean in Spain. They also drive an unremarkable car. The reason behind Ortega's frugal lifestyle becomes pretty obvious when you consider the difficult life Amancio has lived. His fashion empire began with him stitching clothing by hand in his living room. Even when becoming a billionaire, he would eat in the general canteen with his workers, avoiding big parties and the celebrity lifestyle. While Ortega is focused on privacy, Meg Whitman has used her retirement to step into the spotlight. Meg Whitman got rich as the CEO of eBay. She helped eBay grow from $4 million in annual revenue to $8 billion in annual revenue. After retiring from eBay with $1.3 billion, Meg Whitman decided to enter politics.
Please welcome and give a hearty big hand for Miss Meg Whitman.
She helped create one of the most successful websites around. Now Meg Whitman says she wants to bring her business experience to the California governor's office.
But instead of raising money like the other candidates, she sunk $144 million of her own cash into the campaign. Even though she didn't win, she still got the opportunity to serve her country. In 2022, Whitman was appointed United States Ambassador to Kenya. It is remarkable that Whitman is comfortable spending her retirement living in another country, because our next billionaire retired because he wanted to stop traveling and spend more time at home. George Lucas is the genius behind the Star Wars franchise. After decades of creating blockbuster movies, Lucas announced his retirement from filmmaking in 2012. To prove he was serious, Lucas even sold his company, Lucasfilm, to Disney for $4.1 billion in stock and cash. So what's he doing now? According to Lucas, he retired so he could spend more time with his wife, newborn daughter, and other children. It's been 10 years since George Lucas retired, and he spent almost every moment with family. Sam Walton, on the other hand, wasn't that lucky, since he died barely 4 years after retirement. Sam Walton is one of the greatest businessmen in American history. He created Walmart, a company that revolutionized how the country shops. In 1988, after growing Walmart into a multi-billion-dollar business, Sam stepped down as the CEO of Walmart. He finally had an opportunity to relax and spend his time with his grandkids. Unfortunately, Sam didn't live long enough to enjoy his retirement.
The founder of this country's largest retail outlet has died. Sam Walton, who built the Walmart empire from scratch, died today after a lengthy battle with cancer.
Sam's wealth was split between his kids, making them the richest family in America. Nowadays, rich people don't wait till they retire to spend their billions. They prefer living an extravagant lifestyle while they're young. Take the Al Nahyan royal family, for instance. The Al Nahyans are the wealthiest Arab family in the United Arab Emirates, and they're desperately searching for new ways to spend their money. If you're wondering how a trillionaire royal family spends their cash, click here to discover the trillionaire lifestyle of Abu Dhabi's royal family.